We'll go ahead and get started now. And Amber, go ahead and I'm calling this order, and you can go ahead and start with the roll call and just do Carl last, and hopefully it'll show up by then.
Okay, Chair Kennedy,
Present.
Vice Chair Hawthorne,
Present.
Member Bowie,
Present.
Member Brito,
Present.
Member Clemente. I see her, but
Present.
oh, there she is. Member Gorky Shrug,
Present.
Member Martin,
Present.
Member McCullough,
Present.
Member McNeil,
Present.
Member Smith.
Present.
All right, and then I just have Member DeMoss absent.
Carl just texted me. He is having some computer problems and he lives down the street. So I told him he's welcome to come in and join it here if he wants. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I know he's trying to get in.
Okay.
All right,
Keep an eye out.
fantastic. All right, everybody, thanks for attending tonight's special meeting to review and approve the budget recommendations in the final report. But before we do all that, we have some housekeeping to do. So we need to do the approval of minutes and member reports. I have a report, and I'll go ahead and give that now, since it's the time, and then we can go into public comments and such. So Carl, Ed, and myself met yesterday with the city manager, Stephen Chatwin, Dave Gasaway, the assistant city manager, and our finance director, Emily Combs. And we went over the essence of the final report. We went over the observations, the recommendations, and the benefits that part of the final report that we will be giving to the council. And originally it was set for July 6th. We'd approved tonight, since our term technically expires in a week, and we would do the final report on the 6th. The city manager and everybody liked the report. They gave great positive comments about it. And what they did ask of us is if we could delay giving our final report until the August meeting, and that would not affect anything in regards to our committee's work, or other than it will give the city manager's office time to look at the recommendations and have responses on how they can meet some of those goals that we have and recommendations that we are doing. We talked. I think that would be a fine idea. I don't have a problem with that. And we'll be able to give that report. It would at this point be on the 17th of August, because on the council has canceled their August 3rd meeting because it's National Night Out, and the council historically has gone out to the neighborhoods, excluding last year, of course, but gone out to the neighborhoods where people are having events, and they try to get to all the events, one or more at all of the events that happen around town. So that is pretty much the crux of what I saw. Ed, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that was fine. I mean, the report will still be submitted. It just won't be presented until the 17th.
Right. And on that, when we do this report, if you guys want to, go ahead and message me. You all have my email and my phone number. If you would like to take part in any part of that presentation to the council, let me know, and we will. I would like as much participation as possible. Especially, I would like everybody to be there in support of what our findings are in our presentation. So, if you'd like to be part of that presentation, great. Let me know, and we will let you be a part of that presentation to the council and to the city. And with that, I will open up member reports. Ed, do you have anything?
I have a question. Oh, sorry. I just had a question regarding the process of that.
And I
Sure.
If you don't mind.
Go ahead, Mari.
Oh, yeah, I was just curious. So if we did I get we submit the report early, but like we won't present it till later, how does that affect the whole budgetary process in general then?
It doesn't affect anything at this point because the new budget starts in a week anyway.
Mhm.
So, and that's where the city manager and they'll have time to look those things over and show where they could actually make some mid-year budget changes. Is that correct, Emily? Is that
Yeah.
how you took it from yesterday?
Yeah, so yes, we already adopted the budget, but that doesn't prevent the council from directing staff to come back with budget adjustments related to the report. In fact, it's a lot cleaner that way. And it looks like it's going to work out well because for some of the items in the recommendations, we, like cannabis, for example, revenues, we omitted from the budget for, maybe obvious reasons. We have really no clue how much is coming in, but we suspect it's much more than what we thought or what our consultants told us. So I think it's going to work out really well. And then, the August timeframe, we kind of thought, and I don't think we specifically talked about, well, maybe we did. Coming at the end of August is good because you have people kind of coming back from their vacations and they're ready to do business. Whereas sometimes the first meeting in July, people are just like wanting to get on their vacation. So it's, you don't want to lose, you don't want to lose the momentum, even though it's, there's going to be a break, but I think it's good timing. And then it kind of coincides with developing mid-year and developing better revenue projections related to cannabis and stuff like that. So I think it works out well.
Mr. Chair, can I add a point, George?
I'm sorry?
Can I add a point?
Sure.
Mari, one of the things that came out of all of the work from all of the committees, and I think the point you raised about the budget cycle is critical because this committee was formed not in time to have any effect on that budget cycle directly. So I think the process will get any critical recommendations, maybe some adjustments, but the idea I think that everyone's recommending is that the start of the work for the committee happens so that it is collecting data along the way. So when the budget process starts, not in the end, that all of this feedback goes into consideration for what the priorities will be, what the goals are, et cetera. And then we get to the budget process and we're talking about reviewing that input. And so that's the where a lot of the subcommittees talked about the fact that we are sort of off cycle and that needs to be synced up with the budgetary planning cycle.
And also, if I could add one more issue, I think we all know the city for the last 2 to 3 months that they have been full bore into the cannabis situation and all the goings on with that. And the meetings have been marathon meetings. The packets have been marathon. Our packet is large. The PowerPoint is short compared to all the attachments we're doing. And if we want them to actually look this over and really support what we're doing, if we give them a little bit of a break from all these other marathon meetings and the marathon paperwork that they've had, I think I actually now think it's in our better interest for the committee's work that they're going to look it over closer because they need a break.
Mr. Chair, may I have a question, please? Matter of fact, it's 2 questions. You have nearly answered one of them just now, but I wanted to have clarity. The date of submitting the report, what date is that going to be? When the report is submitted to the council or the city, to the manager? What date is that?
Okay, it will be submitted to the council on, Amber, correct me if I'm wrong, the Friday before. So that would be August 13th when Amber will give the packet to the council. Am I correct there, Amber?
Well, you can give it to,
And we'll be giving it to you way before that.
Wait, hold
Yeah.
on. Say that
I
again.
just heard the understanding that it was going to be submitted now, but
Right.
presented. So that's what I'm trying to get clarity about.
So we're going to submit it by tomorrow afternoon. So whatever changes we have to make tonight, it'll be submitted to Amber and, lack of a better term, she'll sit on it
Well, hey, George, Amber was about to say something about when we could submit it, because part of the reason of the delay that you had mentioned was also so that you give the city council members more time to review the report. But if they're going to get it at the same cycle that they already get it, they're not getting any more time to review it. So I think Amber was about to comment on that.
Yeah, I believe I can give it to them as soon as you're done, and then.
That would what we would prefer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as you're done, we can give it to them, and then they can have
Thank
plenty
you
of
for that
time.
clarity, because if they have time to read,
Yep.
between now and then, I think that's up to.
That's awesome.
I
I thought it
think
was,
that's awesome.
I'm so, that's,
We
I
will do
thought it was always
submit.
just in the packet, so.
Yeah,
that's good.
it's public record, so I mean, basically anyone can see it that requests to see
Okay.
it.
Follow up to that, Mr. President, Mr. Chair. You mentioned presentation and as to whether any members would be interested in helping to facilitate a presentation. And as I see it, it's a very lengthy report. How do you propose to make the presentation?
Hey, George, you don't have to go there because I don't think that you've talked about how to deliver it.
Right,
Because that presentation deck in the front is the summarized version of all of the work, but to actually present the report requires another conversation about which components you plan to do in the cover and how much detail and how many people do you want presenting. So Francis, I don't mean to cut George off, but I'm just saying that that part has not been figured out in terms of the actual presentation.
Well, I think it's a part that's valuable to be worked out. And this
Yeah,
is
that's
our
that's
last
absolutely
meeting,
true.
as I
It just has
understand.
not been done yet.
Will we know at our last meeting tonight?
No,
When?
because we haven't sat there and figured it out yet. I mean, like
Okay,
you said,
all
it's
right.
a lengthy report and
because,
End of my questions.
okay, and part of that reason, Francis, is if only two people want to participate in that, then it gets broken up differently than if 6 people want to take part in it. So it all depends on the participation level that the committee wants to have and what parts they want to have to deal with. And
I have sort of a different take on that. I think the importance is on exactly what content we're wanting to present.
and that's what you're going to be approving tonight.
the content for the present, the content for the presentation of Francis is the PowerPoint deck up to that page that says discussion. Everything else are attachments and appendix that are not going to be covered. And
Okay.
even in the PowerPoint presentation portion of the deck, as you're presenting that, the idea is that you never present every bullet on every page. And the idea is to think about what are the major themes on that page that you really want to highlight. So the important thing is whoever's presenting should be looking at the page and talk about the most important critical points on that page to just highlight, because every council member should have had it. And there's no way that we're ever going to have enough time to do every bullet on every page.
Okay. And actually, the PowerPoint should have no more than 6 lines on it and large enough.
Yeah, but ours do not, because of the desire to have everybody's
All
stuff
right, thank
represented.
you.
So there you go. Yep.
All right, cool.
Amber, I have a question for you. It's Carl. Aren't the presentations generally something like this kept to 15 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, that's
Matt?
what they prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
believe it's in, I'm gonna have to check the
George
exact
told you at
time,
30 minutes.
but that's why you submit the report separately, and then the presentation, basically you're just hitting highlights, like, think 15 minutes.
Yeah,
15.
so please keep that in mind, George, when you start
Got it.
considering, who's presenting all of this sort of stuff.
Yep.
We have 15 minutes, max 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know one of the last public meetings they had that they were allowed to have, I think the
The Commission on Women.
Commission on Women, thank you.
Yes, which I
their
helped found.
their report was about a half an hour long. So,
I remember that.
So,
yeah.
so part of it seems like, George, that we need to look at, to Francis' point, sort of look at that deck, decide the big themes on the page you want to do, have a run through, figure out how much time you need. Because if the
Okay.
expectation is 15 minutes, but to actually deliver the key points, it takes 30, then you ought to be, along with that presentation date, asking Amber for 30 minutes of time instead of 15.
Got it.
And I think the commission, well, I shouldn't, well, it was a little longer than normal.
So you have to think of it this way also is the council's going to be much happier with you if you cut it to 15 minutes than 30.
Exactly.
We'll be
They're-
much
they-
happy with the count. Well, we'll be very happy with the council if they read the report before the presentation, then we can spend 15 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I suspect we will have a lot of questions and
Yes.
a lot of the details from the reports are going to come out through those questions. So it's really about hitting the points that are going to trigger the questions, right? So
Mhm.
which we'll be
Exactly.
very interested in.
Yeah,
And-
because I mean, one question, Emily, as you know, could go down a rabbit hole and then you never get to any other points on the presentation. And so my point of delivery to George is this, which is we should have in that executive summary, we just need to make sure that we talk about the critical things that represent the entirety of that report. And then you can go down to some of the bullet points on certain pages because you will have got the gist of what you want out right in that first couple of pages. Because otherwise you'll never get to it.
Got it. Cool. All right. So let's, Ed, then we'll go back to member reports. Ed, do you have anything to report?
No, I do not.
Mari,
Nothing new to report.
Michael?
Nothing new to report.
Thank you, sir. Muriel? No?
Sorry, I was muted. No, nothing new to report.
All right. Carl?
No, nothing on my end.
Sabine?
Nothing to report.
Tara Lee? You're on
I
mute.
have no reports, no.
Thanks. Francis?
No,
Jose?
I just want to say that all the meetings are special, not just this one.
Gee, thanks. Sean?
Nothing to report.
Great. Okay, Amber, you're up. Public comments.
Right. The public may speak on items not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the committee, provided that no action may be taken on off-agenda items except as authorized by law. Off-agenda items from the public will be taken under consideration without discussion by the committee and may be referred to staff. To make a public comment, use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone. And I am not seeing any hands raised, so you can move to the next item.
Consent calendar. Let's do the approval of meeting minutes from June the 10th, 2021.
I, Francis McCullough, move the minutes approved as submitted.
Second.
Ed seconds. Francis makes the motion.
All right, I'll do roll call. Chair Kennedy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hawthorne,
Yes.
Member Bowie,
Yes.
Member Brito,
Yes.
Member Clemente,
Yes.
Member DeMoss,
Yes.
Member Gorky Schroed,
Yes.
Member Martin,
I approve.
Member McCullough,
Yes,
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Okay, continued business, final report, review and approve each subcommittee's budget recommendations and the final report. As you see, there are 6 attachments. And I just want to kind of go over the process was reviewed with all the subcommittees and their members. And it's gone through an ample review process to the point that the subcommittees met and were to have by the 20th, the responses, submit changes to that, to their chairs with feedback, so it could be incorporated into this final report. And then it was sent out to all the committee members for final review. So with that,
Well, Mr. Chair,
sir,
I'd like to make a motion, put a motion on the table to approve the Budget Advisory Committee final report.
okay. Do I have a second?
I'll
I'll
second
second.
that motion.
Thank you. Okay, so now we'll have discussion. Are there if you have a comment, raise your, I guess, yeah, raise
Raise
your
your
hand.
what? Raise your bum bum? What did you
Well,
say?
I was going to say raise your hand, but not everybody's visual. So
Oh,
I've just got names there, not
Okay,
faces.
So-
Sorry.
so I know it's a lengthy report. Will it possibly be screen shared so we can quickly go through it?
Let me see. Hold on one second. Ed, do you have it so you could bring it up on screen share?
no, I mean, I'm thinking, can you bring it up, Amber? I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same report that Amber sent it to everyone, so I think everyone can open that report up and point to the page that you have a question on, so we don't spend all of our time.
Yeah.
That
I
was-
have the report open if you want to make me co-host.
Let's see. You should be able to share as a panelist at the bottom.
Okay, let me,
There you go.
okay. So, let me go, where's the? Here we go. So, what comments, where would you like me to go?
Francis, you have your comment?
Not on this page.
Well, what page do you want us to go to, Francis?
Oh, I just thought we would go through all of the pages quickly, and if one had a comment, they would raise it as we were scrolling down it, but maybe that was not a good idea, so.
113 pages, Francis.
Okay. Oh, more than I anticipated.
Yeah,
Okay, well, a particular question that I do have, and it would be a long time getting to that, was should the lengthy booklet on participatory budget be considered an appendix?
it is. Participatory budget is in the appendix, as are the documents from your subcommittee that you requested. And I think, Sabine, I got one from you, that's included. So those things are in the appendix, and they have always been.
Mhm.
My question was,
They are in the appendix as the first page of the PDF, and then they are provided as supplemental data to the entire report. So which is why the report that Amber sent out has the presentation decks, all the appendix, and the supplemental report decks to go with it.
my question was, is it an appendix or is it supplementary?
It's the actual discussion of the issue comes in multiple places. It comes in the observations and the recommendations. It also shows up in the benefits, and it also shows up in each subcommittee's report, which is in the appendix. And it also shows that any of the attached PDF decks are in the supplemental data, the entire decks. And they're in the place that they've always been, so it hasn't moved.
I have another questions regarding appendices. And that is, and if we could look at that page, it might make more sense with this particular question.
This is the appendix content.
Okay,
Where would you like to go?
but you go to 7. No, it's 6.
Okay.
Well, six is a picture of the PDFs that are the supplemental data. So the full reports are in the supplemental data that is attached to this report. If that's the page you're going to.
Okay, yes, it says Appendix 6. And it says supplementary data, and it goes participatory budgeting and community policing. And there is at least one other report that it is not mentioned here.
There's the one that you have been emailing me about, Francis, that I said
Okay, I'm not missing that one at this point, Ed. I'm making note of the one that I see that is not noted in the.
Is that the one that I'm trying to figure out, is that the one that you emailed me
No,
about?
I'm referring to homeless report that I see, but is not noted. And what I'm going to ask that you do, I'm just going to ask this, maybe it's not how you do reports, but when you have Appendix 6, if you would list the other appendices by at least an alphabet so that they are distinguished. And so you would have an A or B or C and D. And if you add homeless there, it would be some number. And then with the fourth one that is missing, if approved, I understand the one that is missing will need to be approved. So I'm just for order. That's a suggestion, but that's all.
I mean, and Francis, I take your suggestion, and we'll see. I put the name that says community policing. The supplemental deck is called community policing. So this is a picture of the first page of that report as that is, and it has the name. So I'm not sure if I changed it to numbers, what that changes, or alphabet.
I suggested alphabets. That's normally appendices. When they're multiple, they would have an alphabet to correspond with their presentation. It's a suggestion, but if it's complicated, it's not academic. So let's go as it is.
Okay. Any other questions, Francis?
Well, there was one that Ed referred to as missing. Does that particular missing document from this report, does that have to be approved in order to be included?
It is a supplemental report. It is talked about within the presentation. It will be attached. This page, the front part of that particular report will be added to this last page and draft removed. And then that deck will be attached will be a supplemental deck like the other ones are.
I just have,
I don't know that it has to, that particular one has to be approved separately, because this is all of the information from all of the subcommittees are in the deck. And so we didn't take anything away from the work of the subcommittees. And so if you submitted that, then it is your subcommittee's work. So.
And then what we could do, I guess, is add that to those, to the recommendations instead of just in the body of the work.
Well,
because if it's there, we approve it as such. So. Does anybody else have any questions?
I just have like 3 statements. They're not particularly questions. So the first one is in terms of like the, sorry, I'm going to it. So in the recommendations, it's on page 28, or it could be within anywhere in there when we talk about like homeless intervention. And I know it's mentioned somewhere in the report, but just for clarification, the homeless intervention would be centered around the homeless service divisions under the city manager and not the homeless intervention, the police team, correct?
Okay, so I'll clarify that really quick. And so the homeless services manager is part of the city manager's office. And that's one of our recommendations, is that should be broken out from the city manager's office, possibly so they have a little bit more clout, as opposed to getting information filtered down from departmental meetings and such. So that's why it would say city manager with,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then my last thing was just in terms of the participatory budget. I know it's like mentioned, but just like a strong emphasis, at least like in presentation or something like that, that I really personally encourage the funding from the participatory budget to be from the cannabis tax. And the reason why I support that is because I think that the participatory budget is something that's supposed to particularly, well, other than, of course, benefiting the community, it's particularly made with like those marginalized in mind, and being that cannabis has been something that has continually marginalized communities of color. I think that like is a really good placement for that. And so I just wanted that kind of emphasized in there. I know it's like mentioned, but I just think like that's the reasoning behind that, and I wanted that like emphasized at least in the meeting or on the record. And then along with that, just something that we could possibly do if we're still going to be on board is like helping with the education aspect of the participatory budget, because that's critically important. And I think it helps with transparency, which is something that like I don't think city council would have the means or time to do that. That could be something that we could possibly do.
Great suggestion. And I think in the meeting, one of the things we could bring out is emphasize the correlation between the participatory budget and the cannabis taxes, since it's mentioned in the report. Good comments. Thank you, Maureen. Anybody else have a comment? Speak up.
George, this is Muriel. So there is a missing component of our subcommittee report. Can I make a motion to, I know there was already a motion, but I want to amend that motion to give the authorization to add that report into this presentation. So
Okay.
there was a prior motion, but I'd like to adjust the motion. I don't know if there's a second, because it basically give approval of this with the addition of adding additional information.
Amber, am I correct now? I go back to Ed, if he's okay with amending his motion.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with it.
Okay,
Okay, so we're amending the motion to say that we're adding an additional report to this report, correct?
You're adding an additional supplemental report to the entire deck, yeah.
Okay, okay. So do we have a second?
Second.
thank you.
All right, I'll do, are you guys done discussing? Do you want me to do the roll call vote on that, or is there
Does
more
anybody else have any
discussion?
further discussions? Or forever hold your peace? Seeing none, let's go to a roll call.
All right, Chair Kennedy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hawthorne,
Yes.
Member Bowie,
Yes.
Member Brito,
Yes.
Member Clemente,
Yes.
Member DeMoss,
Yes.
Member Gorky Schroed,
Yes.
Member Martin,
I approve.
Member McCullough,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
Looks, thank you, everybody. Before I adjourn the meeting tonight, I would like to thank everybody on this committee for all the hard work and effort you put into this. I want to thank city staff, Emily and Brian and Ash, everybody, and especially Amber for setting us up every meeting. And as I told Stefan yesterday, the support we got from the city manager's office and every single person that we asked for help from or questions from the city, they were on board right away. Very, very helpful. And all I can say is, everybody, thank you. It's got us to this point, a little later than we wanted to, but I think it's a really good report. I think the council is going to be very impressed by it. They were impressed at our quarterly update with this thing. So we've come to the finish line with what they asked, plus a little bit extra. And on the enterprise funding with the cannabis, it's something that's new for the council. So what we're presenting is a fresh look at this. Instead of just giving it to police departments like other cities are doing, we're looking to make a healthier Fairfield. So and a prouder Fairfield. So on behalf of myself as the chair, I thank everybody immensely for what you've done. With
Thank you,
that,
everyone.
I adjourn the meeting.
All
And
right.
get to me if you'd like to do something.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Bye, everyone.